Ladies and gentlemen, let's be honest for a moment. When it comes to intimacy, everyone talks about desire, chemistry, and connection, but very few people talk about technique. And yet, it is technique that often makes the difference between something ordinary and something unforgettable. Today, I'm going to reveal to you the number one oral technique that makes women not only lean in with anticipation, but literally beg for more. Now, before your mind races too far ahead, understand this. This isn't just about physical pleasure. It's about mastery presence and the ability to truly connect with another human being in a way that leaves them breathless, wanting and craving more of you, not just in the moment, but long after the moment has passed. If you're ready to unlock that level of power, then stay with me. Because after this, you'll never approach intimacy the same way again. Presence is the secret ingredient that separates an average, intimate experience from an extraordinary one. When you are fully present with someone, you are not just going through the motions. You are actively tuned into their body, their breathing, their subtle movements, and their responses. Too many people make the mistake of thinking technique alone is enough, but without presence, technique becomes mechanical, robotic, and predictable. Presence is about giving your full attention, eliminating distractions, and offering the other person the feeling that they are the only thing in the world that matters at that moment. It's about engaging all of your senses, listening not just with your ears, but with your entire being, and creating an atmosphere where every touch, every pause, and every glance carries weight. Presence demands patience, and patience is what builds anticipation. In a world where people are constantly rushing, constantly distracted, being with someone who is grounded in the moment becomes intoxicating. It makes every gesture feel more meaningful, every sensation more magnified. Imagine the difference between someone who is distracted, whose mind is elsewhere, and someone who locks in with you, whose energy radiates focus and care. The latter is unforgettable because it transcends physicality and taps into a deeper need we all share, the need to be truly seen and felt. Presence communicates value. It tells the other person that they are worthy of your undivided attention, and that is an incredibly powerful message. When you are present, you pick up on cues others miss. The subtle shift of a breath, the arch of the back, the trembling pause that signals pleasure. These cues guide you, showing you when to intensify, when to slow down, when to linger. Without presence, you miss these signals and risk creating disconnect. But with presence, you flow in harmony, creating an experience that feels natural and almost telepathic. Presence is not about perfection. It's about authenticity. It's about putting away the ego, forgetting about performance, and focusing entirely on the connection unfolding before you. When you embody presence, you turn something ordinary into something sacred, something your partner will remember and crave again and again. It's not a trick or a gimmick. It's a way of being, and it can transform the way you approach intimacy in every sense. Anticipation is one of the most powerful forces when it comes to creating desire. It is the art of building tension, of stretching out the moment so that every touch, every kiss, every pause becomes magnified in intensity. Too often people rush through experiences, thinking speed is what impresses or satisfies, but in reality, the opposite is true. The slower you move, the more you tease, the more you create space for the mind and body to crave what comes next. Anticipation works because it engages both psychology and physiology. The mind starts to race, imagining what's about to happen, and the body responds by becoming even more sensitive, amplifying every sensation. It's like the build up before a favorite song reaches its chorus. The expectation is sometimes even more thrilling than the release itself. When you know how to hold back, How to hover without giving too much away, how to brush lightly instead of diving in too quickly. You awaken a hunger that grows stronger with every second. Anticipation is about control, about showing that you are deliberate, that you are not in a hurry, and that you understand the value of timing. It makes the other person feel as though they are on the edge, waiting, desperate for what comes next. Think of it as painting a picture stroke by stroke instead of splashing paint across the canvas. Each gentle tease, each lingering pause, adds detail to the masterpiece you are creating. Anticipation also communicates confidence because only someone who is in control of themselves, who trusts in their ability to deliver, can afford to slow things down and build tension. It is not about withholding forever, but about extending the journey just enough to make the arrival that much sweeter. It's about letting the other person know that you are aware of their needs, but you are not rushing to satisfy them instantly, because satisfaction delayed is often satisfaction multiplied. The secret to anticipation lies in variety, mixing soft with firm, pauses with action, whispers with silence. You create an unpredictable rhythm that keeps the other person guessing, wondering what you will do next, and that guessing game is what fuels their desire. Anticipation makes ordinary moments extraordinary because it takes the familiar and stretches it into something exciting and fresh. It taps into curiosity and transforms it into longing. The more you master the art of anticipation, the more powerful your presence becomes because you no longer rely on intensity alone. You use timing, patience, and control as tools to heighten every experience. Attention to detail is what elevates an experience from simply being enjoyable to being unforgettable. It is the small, subtle things that often make the biggest difference. Yet they are the very things most people tend to overlook. When you pay attention to detail, you show that you are not just performing a routine or following a script, but that you are genuinely engaged, observant, and responsive to the other person. Every person is different, and every moment carries its own unique energy. So details are the compass that guides you through the experience. It could be the way her breathing changes, the way her body shifts, or the way her hands grip tighter at certain points. These are all signals, messages that tell you what is working, what needs to change, and where to focus more energy. Missing these cues can lead to disconnection, but catching them and responding appropriately creates a rhythm that feels almost seamless, like a dance where both partners are perfectly in sync. Details extend beyond physical reactions. They also include the environment, the mood, and the way you set the stage. Something as simple as adjusting the pace, changing the pressure, or lingering just a second longer in one spot can transform the entire experience. It is about refinement rather than repetition, about making micro adjustments that communicate care, awareness, and sensitivity. Paying attention to detail also means being adaptive, not rigid. Instead of assuming that what worked once will always work, you learn to stay attuned in the moment and adjust accordingly. This flexibility ensures that the experience feels personalized, as though it was created uniquely for her rather than copied from some generic formula. Another layer of detail comes from variety. Repetition without variation quickly dulls excitement. But introducing subtle shifts in rhythm, touch, or intensity keeps the experience alive and unpredictable. Details are not about overcomplicating things, but about understanding that small changes create big impact. Even a pause, a glance, or a change in breathing can send a powerful message when delivered with intention. When you focus on detail, you invite depth, and depth is what transforms fleeting pleasure into lasting memory. Paying attention to detail is also an act of respect. It says, I see you, I hear you, I value you, It creates trust because it shows that you are not only concerned with yourself, but with her enjoyment, her comfort, and her desire. That trust opens the door for vulnerability, and vulnerability deepens intimacy. The more attentive you are, the more secure she feels, and the more freely she responds, creating a cycle of energy that builds naturally. Detail is not glamorous or flashy, but it is what separates someone forgettable from someone unforgettable. It is not about doing more, but about doing better with precision and presence. Each detail is like a note in a song, and when played with care, they come together to create harmony that lingers long after the moment has passed. Confidence is the quality that transforms technique into art and presence into power. Without confidence, even the most skilled actions can fall flat because hesitation and uncertainty are always felt. Confidence is not about arrogance or being overbearing. It is about owning your movements, trusting your instincts, and projecting assurance that puts the other person at ease. When you move with confidence, you communicate that you know what you are doing, and that sense of certainty is deeply attractive. Confidence allows you to take the lead without being forceful, to create a flow that feels natural and grounded rather than awkward or mechanical. Confidence begins within yourself. It comes from knowing your worth, being comfortable in your own skin, and understanding that intimacy is not a performance to be judged, but a connection to be shared. When you are confident, you are not second guessing yourself or worrying about whether you are doing things right. You are fully immersed in the moment. That presence communicates safety and strength, which allows the other person to relax and surrender into the experience. Insecurity, on the other hand, creates tension and disrupts the natural rhythm because it shifts focus away from the connection and onto self-doubt. A confident person is not afraid of slowing down, of pausing, of experimenting, because they trust that their ability to adapt will carry them forward. They do not rush to prove themselves because they understand that the real power lies in creating anticipation and building connection. Confidence shows up in your body language, in the steadiness of your touch, in the way you maintain eye contact, in the calmness of your breathing. Every small action carries weight, and when those actions are executed with assurance, they amplify desire. Confidence also allows you to be attentive without losing control of the moment. It is the balance between leading and listening, between guiding the flow and adapting to feedback. A person who is confident does not crumble under the pressure of expectation. They embrace it and turn it into energy that fuels the experience. Confidence removes the fear of making mistakes because even if something doesn't work perfectly, you have the ability to redirect smoothly without losing momentum. This fluidity creates trust, and trust deepens intimacy. What many people overlook is that confidence is contagious. When you embody it, it spills over to your partner, making them feel more secure, more open, and more willing to engage fully. Confidence is not loud. It doesn't have to announce itself, but is always felt. It is the silent assurance that everything is under control, that the moment is safe, and that pleasure will continue to build. When you carry yourself with confidence, you make the other person feel as though they can let go completely because you have created a foundation strong enough to hold the intensity of the connection. Connection is the invisible thread that elevates physical intimacy into something far more powerful and memorable. It is the difference between a fleeting encounter and an experience that lingers in the mind and heart long after it is over. Without connection, even the most technically skilled act can feel hollow, mechanical, or transactional. With connection, however, even the simplest gestures carry an energy that resonates deeply. Connection is about presence, vulnerability, and a willingness to fully engage not just with the body, but with the emotions and spirit of the other person. It is a recognition that intimacy is not purely physical, but also deeply psychological and emotional. When you create connection, you allow the other person to feel safe enough to let go, to be vulnerable, and to open themselves completely to the moment. This safety is essential because it builds trust, and trust heightens pleasure. The more connected someone feels to you, the more intensely they experience everything you do because their mind and body are aligned with yours. Connection is built through subtle gestures, through eye contact, through the way you listen to their breathing, through the energy you radiate. It is about making them feel as though you are not simply doing something to them, but rather experiencing something with them. True connection requires empathy, the ability to sense and respond to unspoken needs. It is about tuning in to their reactions and adjusting accordingly, not because you are following a set of rules, but because you are genuinely invested in their pleasure. It is a dance of giving and receiving where you are both actively contributing to the moment. This back and forth creates a powerful bond, and it is that bond that amplifies desire. Connection also extends beyond the immediate moment. The way you treat someone outside of intimacy, the respect, the kindness, the attention you give them feeds directly into the way they respond to you when things become more intimate. If they feel valued, appreciated, and truly seen, they will carry that energy into every encounter. Connection is not something you switch on when it suits you. It is something you cultivate consistently, and it shows up in every interaction. When you prioritize connection, you stop focusing solely on performance and begin to focus on experience. You are no longer concerned with perfection, but with creating a shared journey that feels authentic and meaningful. This authenticity is magnetic because it reassures the other person that they are not being judged or evaluated, but embraced exactly as they are. That acceptance deepens the bond, and the deeper the bond, the stronger the craving becomes. Connection transforms physical pleasure into emotional memory, and emotional memory is what makes someone long for more. It is not about flashy techniques or exaggerated actions, but about the sincerity of your engagement, the way you communicate without words, and the energy you bring into the space you share. Consistency is what transforms a moment of excitement into a lasting impression that stays with someone long after the experience is over. Many people can create pleasure once. Many can ignite a spark in the heat of the moment, but it is consistency that makes someone unforgettable. Consistency is about showing up the same way every time, with focus, with care, with attention, with passion. It is about proving that your ability to create desire and deliver satisfaction is not an accident, not a lucky strike, but a skill you have mastered and can bring to life again and again. This reliability becomes magnetic because it builds trust, and trust allows desire to grow deeper with every encounter. Consistency is not about doing the exact same thing over and over because repetition without variation quickly becomes boring. Instead, it is about consistently bringing the same level of presence, energy, and attentiveness into every experience. It means showing up fully each time, not being distracted, not cutting corners, not assuming that because something worked once, it will automatically work again. It is the commitment to continuously read, respond, and adapt to your partner, no matter how many times you have shared the moment before. That steadiness is what creates a sense of security, and security is what allows people to surrender more fully to pleasure. When someone knows they can count on you to create the same intensity, the same emotional connection, the same feeling of being valued and desired, it multiplies the craving they have for you. They don't have to wonder if this time will be different or if you will lose focus. They already know what to expect. And that certainty becomes intoxicating. Consistency is what separates those who are remembered in passing from those who are remembered for a lifetime. It is not about being predictable, but about being reliable in your dedication to creating pleasure. Consistency also requires discipline. It means not allowing your energy to drop or your effort to fade with time. It means treating each moment as an opportunity to create something memorable, even if it is not the first or second time. Too often, effort is highest at the beginning, when everything feels new and exciting. As familiarity sets in, the intensity fades. Mastery is found in keeping that fire alive, in refusing to let moments become routine or stale. That dedication is felt by your partner, and it makes them feel cherished because it shows that you do not take their presence for granted. At its core, consistency is love expressed through action. It is saying, without words, that you value this connection enough to bring your best every single time. When you are consistent, you build a reputation not just for being good in the moment, but for being great always. That is what makes someone unforgettable. Not a single performance, but a pattern of excellence that leaves no doubt in the other person's mind about who you are and what you bring into their world.